ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's City of Casa Grande study session. Tonight we have a report from the Casa Grande Youth Commission and our representative who attended the National League of Cities conference and the Youth Council, and president of our local Casa Grande Youth Commission, Mr. Anthony Amato. Anthony?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm here. The floor is yours.
Oh, all right. I'm here to discuss my trip to Washington, D.C. to attend the National League of Cities.
This is how you pay for your trip.
Yes, of course. If this is all I have to do, then I'll be taking more. No, just kidding. The Congressional Cities Conference. So the National League of Cities is made up of constituency councils and member groups composed of elected officials and city staff to further their advocacy and special interest and develop solutions both for the National League of Cities and for their home municipalities. And so the council that I was appointed to, the Youth Education and Families Council, is unique because it is the only council to include youth as official members of the council. And so there are 4 of us currently, myself, a member from Austin, a member from Dallas, and one from Rochester, New York. And so we sit on the Youth Education and Families Council, which assists cities and the municipal leagues in promoting best practices regarding youth issues. And the YEF Council really makes it a big point to elevate youth voices in discussions regarding youth issues. And it's composed of about 50 mayors and council members and staff from across the nation, as well as the 4 official youth members. And so just some of the YEF Council initiatives and how I plan on bringing those back to Casa Grande. One of the big YEF Council pushes is youth engagement in civics and elevating youth voices in discussions, like I said, regarding youth issues. And so looking at that through the lens of the CGYC, we can look at our next term, because currently we're wrapping up the school year, which wraps up this term. So looking at next term, we're looking at things like deepening our relationship with the mayor and council and involving ourselves more in the city government, both on the staff and elected side. Another thing the YEF Council does regarding youth engagement in civics is providing tools for advocacy for those youth to advocate for themselves and their issues in their home municipalities, which I'll get into in later slides. Oh, no, not yet though. Another big push from the YEF Council is education accessibility, which is also near and dear to the CGYC. One of our big initiatives is our annual Heart of Casa Grande Scholarship, which I thank some of you for help judging. Congratulations to our newly announced winners. And so education accessibility is, like I said, a big bullet point on the agenda of the YEF Council. And so once again, looking at that through the lens of the CG Youth Commission, we can focus those tools and what I learned and heard there, we can bring back and envelop into our agenda for the next year. Another big, heavily discussed topic during that meeting of all those staff and elected officials was teen mental health. A lot of council members and mayors shared staggering rates of teen suicides in their communities. And the municipal role that they would have in dealing with healthcare agencies as well as educational agencies. And it opened my eyes personally to the privilege that we have in Casa Grande, to not have we have these problems, but not on a magnitude that these other communities are seeing. But tools are being discussed in the YEF Council for leaders to take back to their municipalities. Another big thing that occupied my time at this conference was the youth programming. It was a great program put together by the NLC staff. One of the most interesting things was getting to hear former youth leaders speak. The mayor of Cambridge, Massachusetts spoke. She was a former youth delegate at the NLC council, so that was really interesting, as well as a 18-year-old mayor from Earle, Arkansas. So that was all very interesting. Our first workshop was called the election process, where we held a mock election and did mock campaigning. We also got to hear from some campaign managers and campaign staff from federal elections and federal campaigns. So that was enlightening. My favorite, and this is totally going to not sound nerdy, my favorite workshop in this program was transportation trials, because I felt that it was really applicable to Casa Grande. We discussed youth involvement in transportation decisions, as well as what transportation solutions look like in urban communities versus rural communities, which is a topic heavily discussed by the council of late. And it really inspired me to look at youth involvement in transportation solutions. The Youth Commission has heard from Deb, our wonderful transit manager, in the past, and we've discussed with her having youth voice on the Transit Advisory Board and what youth solutions would look like there as far as youth and student fares go. And so that was really a great workshop with some great speakers that inspired a lot of things applicable to Casa Grande. And the last workshop was another great one, Bring It Back Home. Each delegate was able to choose their special interest, and so like they seated us at separate round tables. So of course I chose youth engagement and civics, and there were just a lot of great opportunities to discuss with other youth solutions for their communities. We had a mock, a problem-solving scenario to come up with solutions for involving youth in civics. And there were a lot of great ideas rolled around that really inspired me to bring a lot of advocacy back to the Casa Grande Youth Commission and in involving youth voice in city government. Another big point of the NLC's youth programming is that it's all youth planned. The youth come up with all of the workshops, they execute them, they run them, they're the MCs for all the events. And so that is a great segue into my duties now as a member of the Youth Education and Families Council for the NLC. I am in charge of planning all of the youth programming at the next upcoming conferences. I've been having regular meetings with Dr. Blaine, who is the director at the Youth Education and Families Institute for the NLC, as well as their staff, and we've been coming up with a lot of great ideas for youth programming at the next conference. They've been very accommodating to the 3-hour time difference. And in fact, I just had a meeting with them last week where, just to give you an example of how involved the youth are in that planning, they ran an opportunity by us that had been presented to them. It reminded me of what Councilman Herman does at our meetings. Someone presented the staff, the NLC staff, with an opportunity for the youth programming, and they said, well, let us talk to the youth, and they presented it to us. And it was a decision was made by us youth delegates on whether or not we wanted that involved in our youth programming, and they respected that decision. You know, they bring opportunities and ideas to us, and sometimes we come up with them on our own, and that is just a great example of how youth ran the NLC youth programming is. And so, like I said, one of my duties is planning all of the youth programming, and our next conference for that is the City Summit in Atlanta in November, so that'll be an exciting opportunity to put to use the skills I've learned here in Casa Grande with our annual Arizona Youth Government Summit that the Youth Commission hosts, and also to gain additional skills in that planning field. There were a lot of great networking opportunities at the National League of Cities, specifically with Arizona attendees. But not only that, conference attendees and other youth delegates that I interacted with, it was a great opportunity to see how other youth councils are run and their role in their communities. So that was really interesting, as well as in the Youth Education and Families Council itself. I was able to speak with Councilman Gettle from Maricopa and Avondale's Councilwoman Gloria Solorio is one of the co-chairs on that, one of the 4 co-chairs on that council. So that was a great opportunity to discuss youth issues in Arizona. And then I was invited by Richard Rosales, our APS community outreach. And so at the APS dinner, I got to network with Mayor Mila from Superior, and we were able to discuss our youth councils. Superior has a very active youth council, which was all in attendance at that council, so that was something great to see. And we were also able to network with the delegation from Winslow and 2 of their councilwomen and their mayor. And that discussion with them really opened my eyes as to the need for youth voice in government, specifically in Arizona, as we see building communities like ourselves, and the need for youth to play a role in the decision-making in our communities. And so just the biggest takeaways from this council, I like to say professional development because it's what us youth here, our teachers talk about all the time, right? They have professional development meetings after school every week. But it really, I related to that because I felt like I learned a lot of skills that I could bring back to being our youth commission chair and a youth leader in our community. And learning from other youth councils and networking in that sense was a really great opportunity. It opened my eyes just on a broader scale to how critical youth voice is in decision making. Just on a local level, those decisions start small, start here, and that plays a big role in youth's lives. As well as I learned a lot of lessons in cooperation with the municipal structure that I look forward to enveloping in our agenda for next term on the Youth Commission. And also just some more technical things, more nerdy things that Councilman Herman and I like to discuss. The Youth Commission's organization, the role that it'll be playing in city government, as well as its structure, just some positions within the Youth Council and way things are run, and being able to look at other youth commissions and see the way they run things, and take away from that what works for our community, but also seeing things that we do that they don't, and being able to share those lessons with them as we go into our 20th year next year. That's an exciting thing, to be a commission with such seniority and being able to talk to newly developing commissions and engage in that way. But one of the biggest takeaways that I had was just a development in my want for personal advocacy, both in Casa Grande and overall in Arizona, as far as youth councils go and involving youth in government. I've really been inspired by this trip to further my mission of involving youth in government and in civics overall, because it really is critical to developing and ensuring reliable leadership in communities like ours. And here are a few pictures from my sightseeing adventures, which I promise you, there weren't many. I was hard at work for most of the trip. As you can see here, I got a picture with Senator Kelly. Senator Sinema did have to rush out. She was very busy. But here's a nerdy picture that I took of her speaking. And this one in the corner of First Lady Dr. Jill Biden speaking was a really great moment. It was the general session, the closing general session for the council, for the conference, and she was speaking. And there was a big buildup. You had to go through security to get into the big ballroom of the hotel. I was sitting there for 30 minutes before it even started to get a good seat. I was by myself. I was squeezed between some staff from Wisconsin and council members from Alabama. And, we got to listen to other speakers from the federal government. And then the First Lady comes out, there's hype music, and she was walking, and there was a standing ovation. And it was just a great moment to be from Casa Grande and sit there and be like, just days ago, I was sitting in a classroom in Vista Grande High School. And now I'm here, I was in D.C., I was listening to the First Lady speak. And it was just a great opportunity that I thank everyone getting me there. For City Manager Larry Raines had a big part in my getting there and my travels, and so I thank you, and I thank you, the Mayor and Council, for approving my trip. So overall, it was a great opportunity, and like I said, I thank you all. So, any questions?
I'm not sure we have a lot of questions, but I do want to say, Anthony, when we mulled over this, your advocate over here to my left, you're right, was the one who really pushed hard, because I know Larry and I talked about it. He says, do we really want to send Anthony to Washington, D.C.? And we thought about it, and of course we did. But it was a great opportunity, I think, for you to go to D.C. and represent, and to the NLCS to represent the city of Casa Grande, and we really appreciate you're going, number one, and number two, your enthusiasm, and number three, your passion for what you do it exudes everywhere, and so we do appreciate that, and I want to personally thank you. Your youth advocacy voice for us in the city of Casa Grande is above and beyond anyone who at least I've worked with. I can't speak for everybody here, but I know Matt's been involved in this a long time, so has Donna, in terms of our youth commission, and you represent us well, and we really appreciate that, and I just want to say thank you personally from me, and I'm sure on behalf of my fellow council members, for you going to represent us there, and I'm glad you had the opportunity. Washington, D.C. is an amazing place. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's an amazing place to go visit. It is the seat of our government, and you get a different perspective on on the whole country when you actually go to see, where Capitol Hill is located, and it's actually on a hill, which I didn't realize till I got there. And so it's an amazing trip, and if you ever get a chance to do it, and I know you have, and I'm sure you're going to go again, because this is a great opportunity that you've had, and thank you for going, and thank you for representing.
Yes, thank you. It was great to represent Casa Grande and the state of Arizona in a venue and in spaces where rural voices aren't often heard. I found at the NLC, when they were presenting solutions. That was we had a more interesting and unique take on things, and it was great to represent our city, and I thank you.
Matt? I know you want to say something.
Go ahead first, if you want to go.
Mr. Lebanon.
Well, first of all, Anthony, congratulations. I can clearly see that Matt has trained you up as Casa Grande rather than Casa Grande. But
Casa Grande. Come on.
you are certainly an inspiration to myself and so many people here in our community. When you presented last month at the school board, our school board members were astonished when they found out you're only a sophomore. And so I am so excited to see what you're going to do these next 2 years as you continue to be a student in our district and working together with you and your passion and everything you're doing. Also, the bottom right-hand picture, you in front of the White House, you look so natural there.
This is why Larry and the mayor didn't want me to go. They knew it would get to my head.
But thank you for all you're doing to represent our community, our school district, and just remember you're an inspiration. Continue to use your passion and let us know how we can continue to fuel that passion and keep you moving.
All right, Matt, you're last. So,
Yes.
Anthony? The
Anthony.
other Anthony.
Thank you so much for representing our city so well and the Youth Commission so well. And as you were speaking, I just began to jot down some things. I know I'm going to be one of your guest speakers coming up this coming Saturday, and so I'm going to be utilizing a lot of words that you use. One is represent well. Whatever you do, you represent well. And I believe he was a great person to be there to represent Casa Grande. Your voice is very important. A lot of times we as youth, we won't speak up because we feel that our voice is not important, but you see, it's very important. Another thing, role models. You're that role model. You're infectious, you rub off, and it's a good thing though. Continue to do that. Your zeal and your push to learn what is best for our youth commission and for our city, I love that. That's that passion to push on, and it's contagious. And with the other youth, I know they're like this with you too. It's contagious and everybody's picking up on this. Deeper development and engagement with other youth to succeed. That's key, because you came here and you're briefing us on what took place. A lot of people don't do that. That's so important. You were engaged. I'm sure you represent it very well, as I said earlier. Continue to keep up the great work. And believe me, success, that picture is easy. And the bottom.
Donna?
I'm agreeing with everybody else. You and I have had many, many conversations over the past couple of years, but I just want to correct you on one thing. When you're looking at these pictures and you said you were pictured with Mark Kelly was pictured with you. So, thank you.
There you go. Lisa?
Anthony, you're just such a breath of fresh air. Every time I just smile anytime he speaks, because really you just have that energy that just comes across and everyone's just happy to hear what you have to say. So it is amazing that you're only a sophomore. But I do want to, of course I agree with everything everyone said, but I just want to thank your family too. For supporting you. I remember having conversations with your dad years ago when you were little, and you had this interest in government back then. It's just, what, like 8-year-old, it's interesting.
I was deeply
right,
upset as a
Ruben?
first grader to find out that you had to be in high
Yes.
school to join the commission.
Really, I remember having that conversation, one time. So, but for your family, your grandmother, of course, I've talked to her many times, but because it does take that family support. And so I thank the family for you. He has a gift. And this gift, you know, it's important for you to see that and give him the time and support to give to this community. So I'm just so proud of you, and we couldn't have picked anyone better to represent our city. And so if there's ever anything I can do, I'll be there for you. But I'm like a proud mom, you know, I'm like, I'm proud of this kid, you know, but no, I'm so happy. And again, thank you to your family too.
You have a lot of proud parents here tonight, by the way. Bob, anything?
Just thank you, Anthony. I agree with what Lisa said. We couldn't have picked anybody better.
Yeah.
You're the ideal person for the Youth Commission and to represent our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Matt.
All right. So the mayor and I were talking when this was coming up, and the process started. It's not just that we said, Anthony, you can go. He had to apply to make this commission that he's on. You know, a nationwide contest. So it wasn't that that we said, oh, Anthony's going to go represent our city. He had to get accepted to represent. And then then we started talking about the logistics of it, and the mayor sent me an email, and I said, well, I'll tell you what my intent to say was, Mayor, we always talk about investing in the future of our city, so this is a time to do it. I didn't say it that nicely, but it worked out. And then Larry Raines,
We made it happen, right?
yeah, we did. And Larry Raines, city manager, ex-finance director, ex-deputy city manager, and now travel agent.
Highly recommend him, 5 stars. I haven't had better agendized trip in a while.
Larry really did help with that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
that was interesting.
But when you look at this presentation and you see, I get the chance to work with a lot of our great young people in this city. Not as many as Jeff, but a lot. And the cream of the crop. And when you talk about civic engagement, it's true. Anthony was asking me when he was little, when can I be on the youth commission? And I was like, you have to wait till about high school time. And he did. And now he's, the president, and he's only a sophomore. And so, which is great, because like Jeff said, we got him for 2 years. But when you hear him talk, when you look at these pictures,
He may graduate before he's a senior.
yeah.
So.
Oh,
you see
no.
the
I need to get the prom in.
But you see the future of our city, of our county, of our state, of our nation. So, I mean, I couldn't think of anyone better to go. And his family was very supportive. They paid out their own pocket for chaperoning and stuff, so we appreciate that. But, I mean, just to see him do this and have this opportunity, he's the one. And so as he plans his Arizona, and I say his, we planted this seed with him last year with the commission, and they ran with it. And our commission, genuinely, they do it as their own. We don't do the work and they just show up. Absolutely not. They do the work and we just show up and make sure that, the doors are unlocked and that the lights are on. And so he was integral in planning the Arizona Youth Government Summit. So now he's taking that and planning a national one. He's planning the one this year that's happening this Saturday at the rec center. We got youth from all around the city and the state. But he's using these lessons, like Anthony said. He's really the one that gets it and about the civic engagement. And his passion for it is just tremendous, and it overflows to everybody. So we appreciate you, Anthony. We expect big things out of you now. So sorry, buddy. But that's what's going to happen. So, I couldn't think of anyone better to represent our city. And I think we really get our value, maybe even more so of Anthony going than one of us going, because he's really doing it. And so you're planning that the one in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Did they give you a budget to do that?
No, they haven't told us, so it's whatever we want it to be, I guess. That blank check, right?
Yeah. So he gets a budget from National League to plan those, and he's going to be doing that. And then, he's just making those connections. And now he's inspired to figure out how we can get the Youth Commission to go, because Superior's Youth Commission was there. So when
We
Mila
can't have Superior be superior to us,
Right.
right? I mean, we can't let their name
So when
get-
Mila gets back from vacation, I'm going to talk to her and see how they pulled that off. But you guys can see how proud we are, and this is why we do what we do in this city and why we have our youth commission. So people like him, and there's a lot of other members of the youth commission that are, very well too. Anthony's just the one that filled out the application and got accepted. So, and he's truly a leader in our city. So thank you, Anthony. You did a great job as always, and I'll see you bright and early Saturday morning.
Good job.
Hey, Anthony, I do have one. Your parents are here, right?
Yes.
Would you introduce them, please?
Yes, these are my parents. This is my dad, Ruben Amato, and this is my mom, Elsa German. I do have to thank them because before I even got accepted when I applied, they were letting everyone know.
I think we should give
I was trying to
give
play
them a round of applause.
Yes.
So, yeah, give your parents all the credit. It's a
Yes.
smart thing to do.
Thank you, and thank you all. Thank you all for-
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll stand adjourned until 7 o'clock. What time?